Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. It is Bangladesh's most iconic residence, number 32 Dhanmandi, in the heart of the national capital, Dhaka. This is the house where Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of Bangladesh, lived. This two-storied house was from where Sheikh Mujib planned to liberate his country from Pakistan. The Pakistan army arrested him from this very house in March 1971. Now, this was also the house where he greeted the crowds when Bangladesh was created in December 1971. And finally, this was the house where he and his entire family were massacred by mutinous Bangladeshi officers on the 15th of August 1975, 50 years ago. Now, 6 months ago, this residence was vandalized as his daughter, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, fled the country. And today, this iconic residence, Bangladesh's most iconic residence, a museum to its founding father, was razed to the ground. It is now a heap of stones. Bangladeshi writer Taslima Nasreen wrote, and I quote, "The last trace of the architect of independent Bangladesh has been burnt to ashes today. Cry Bangladesh, cry." Joining me to discuss the state of play in Bangladesh are Riva Ganguly Das, India's former High Commissioner to Bangladesh, and veteran journalist Subir Bhaumik. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Ma'am, I want to start by asking you this. What are your memories of visiting 32 Dhanmandi? I was there a few years back. I spent a very interesting day at that residence, that very iconic residence of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And today, it's absolutely distressing to see the way it's being targeted, it's being demolished using JCBs and bulldozers, which suggest some kind of organized criminal behavior at work here.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very sad day, and it's a very sad day in Bangladesh's history. And I have no doubt that a day will come when they will look back on this day with regret, and it's really a very distressing to see the iconic 32 Dhanmandi being broken down like this. And clearly it was a very pre-planned event. The posters for asking the students and citizens to march towards 32 Dhanmandi were issued a day in advance. There were pictures of bulldozers. So the government, I mean, if there is a government in place at all, was very much cognizant of what is being planned and what is going to happen. And absolutely no step was taken to do this. I mean, I feel sad for a country which treats its own icons like this, which treats its own history like this. And, you can rewrite history in any which way. You can break a house, you can break a museum, but can you really erase, what happened in history? It has been recorded. This is contemporary history. It's not like, you're talking about something which happened 1,000 years back, which has to be, you have to struggle to get documentary evidence. There is every evidence that Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangabandhu, as he's fondly called, played the most significant role in the liberation of Bangladesh. His 7th March speech, the way he motivated the country. And you look at the history, he was not even there when the people of Bangladesh fought for their liberation. And the liberation war was fought in Bangabandhu's name. There was no controversy about his rule, about who he stood for, his values, and what was the dream of a new Bangladesh. So, today I think is a very, very sad day. I have visited 32 Dhanmandi many times. I've visited it in the late 90s when it was, not really a grand museum like it was later. And, it is, and sadly, Bangabandhu's assassination also happened in the same house. So there is a lot of history, from in that house, and to see it being vandalized like this, being destroyed like this in a completely pre-planned manner, which the government has taken no steps to stop, is extremely sad and distressing.
Right, absolutely, ma'am. And you've highlighted the fact that how iconic this house was, and it's literally the house where the independence of Bangladesh was planned from, and it was, a house that's played a very important role, a stage for many of the very important events in the history of Bangladesh. And it's not a very old country. It's just a little over 50 years old. But you know, ma'am, the interesting part is that the Bangladeshis, who you very correctly mentioned, that who planned, who mobilized, who pushed out posters to say exactly what they were doing, the posters of bulldozers tearing down that 32 Dhanmandi, which suggests an element of pre-planning. And obviously the government knew about it, the interim government knew about it. And this is something that even the Pakistan military did not do in 1971, if you recall. The house was left standing. The family of Bongo Bandhu were kept in that house. They were kept in close arrest. In fact, we have a documentary later on with an interview with Colonel Tara about how he rescued the family of Bongo Bandhu from that very residence. But this suggests pre-planning, ma'am, as you mentioned, that everything was known, posters were issued, JCBs, bulldozers were brought in, and that house was systematically torn down. Subir Bhaumik now joins us. Subir, you're a veteran. You've traveled there several times. You've seen Dhanmandi. The house was first attacked 6 months back when Sheikh Hasina had just left the country. She fled to India. But this time around, they seem to have gone ahead with a determination to erase the residence itself, to bring in bulldozers and JCBs and knock the house down. Do you believe there was collusion with the interim government in Bangladesh that's ruling Bangladesh currently?
No, it's not up to me to believe or not believe. Hasnat Abdullah, one of the closest figures to Professor Yunus in this interim setup, has actually said that the last stones of fascism are being erased or eradicated.
Yes.
So it's not just 32 Dhanmandi which was attacked last night. Let me bring to your notice that 4 houses of the extended Sheikh family from Khulna to Borishal have been attacked, burned down. Similar bulldozers and bulldozers from the government public works department were mobilized. So obviously, you know, the government not only knew, they were complicit. Houses of Liberation War veterans like Amir Hussain Amu and Tofail Ahmed, you know, 2 very senior political figures who date back to 71. Their houses have been burned down, set on fire. The house of the Awami League Secretary Obaidul Qadir today. All this happened yesterday, the Black Wednesday as I would call it. Today, at around 12 o'clock, the house of Obaidul Qadir, Awami League General Secretary, has been attacked in Noakhali. I still don't know what is the shape of that house, but definitely it will be set on fire. And the house of former junior foreign minister in the Sheikh Hasina government, Shahriar Alam, has been attacked in Rajshahi. So this is a country-wide mobocracy which is reducing Bangladesh to Vandal Desh. I hazard saying Vandal. It pains me because my roots are in Bangladesh, in Kumilla. I worked in Bangladesh in BD News 24 for long years, so after my BBC career. So it really pains me because I identify as much with Bangladesh as with India. The point here is that this is the way an illegal government. There is no provision for interim government in the Bangladesh constitution on which Yunus took his oath. He didn't take his oath on Holy Quran, right? And to sustain this government, he knows his entire game plan is to stay in power without election. You may accuse Sheikh Hasina of rigging election. Mr. Yunus first contest election. You have not even contested the election. You want to stay in power. You are dilly-dallying. First you are saying, oh, we'll do reforms. Reforms is not your business. Reform, you don't have a popular mandate for the reforms.
The sole job of the interim government, Subir Bhaumik, as it exists, is to conduct elections. To hold elections.
Law and order, maintain law and order,
which are the 2 things that this government doesn't seem keen on doing. It's postponing elections, you're getting all kinds of...
an organized mobocracy.
Mobocracy of the kind that you've just mentioned, Subir Bhaumik. But, Ambassador Das... Ambassador Das, next week, Prime Minister Modi meets President Trump in the White House. Now, there have been statements from President Trump while he was campaigning for the elections in the US last year, in November to be precise, where he's actually called out the targeting of minorities in Bangladesh, minorities like Buddhists, Hindus and Christians. And he's called out the interim government for this. Do you believe that all of this that's happening in Bangladesh right now, this organized mobocracy that's on in the last couple of hours, has anything to do with Prime Minister Modi's visit to the White House next week? We are fully aware of the fact that President Trump has been known to pull out surprises. And what if Bangladesh features on top of his list next week?
See, I would think that certainly, geopolitics and global, whatever happens in the international arena in terms of, US there's a brand new administration and what they're going to do. It's very difficult to, predict what President Trump is going to do. I would rather think that, this step has been taken because it is not as if we have to guess who has done this. The students.
Yes.
And as Mr. Bhaumik said, Hasnat Abdul has openly said it was his call. The students to come to Dhanmondi, and not only 32 Dhanmondi, but properties across. And it's so sad that even Sheikh Hasina's husband's property, which is in Dhanmondi, called Shuddha, that was also vandalized. And it's a complete mobocracy which is going on. There is it's on the brink of anarchy. And my personal reading of this is that, the students were increasingly becoming irrelevant with more and more calls for election and, and very questionable decisions of the interim government. And, clearly an effort to stay on in power without calling for election. And I think all political parties are getting impatient with this lack of transparency and not being able to come up with a real timeline for elections. And I think students increasingly have been increasingly under criticism because they are sitting in government trying to form a political party. They are actually influencing the governmental protocol that they get. They're using the powers that they have as kind of ministers within the government and trying to generate political sort of building the base of their new political party. So I think the students were desperate to do something to once again attract attention and to once again, push things in, because Awami League is the main, very convenient.
It's the largest target, if you can call it
target.
that,
And
Ambassador
along
Das,
with it, India, I have heard absurd, conspiracy theories that India is behind this. I mean, really, what lengths people go to, attack India? I mean, why would India be behind this and be working with people who are clearly not, we have no commonality of interest.
Absolutely. We have no commonality of interest, and as Subir, as you mentioned, it's Bangladesh is turning into Bangladesh, Vandladesh, if you can call it that. But what is going on in Bangladesh right now, Subir Bhaumik? The BNP must be pretty upset as well. They wanted early elections, and they possibly wanted a taste of power, and that doesn't seem to be happening quickly. You're looking at dates as early as 2026 for elections to be held. Can you give us the state of play in Bangladesh right now?
No, this organized mobocracy is not something that's happened yesterday with Dhanmondi attacks and with the spate of attacks elsewhere. These mobs were mobilized to do what legally Yunus could not do, to actually force the resignation of Supreme Court justices, principals of educational institutions, senior bureaucrats. They were used to attack police. They were used to attack Hindu temples, but not just Hindu temples, mind you, Buddhist bihars, Christian churches, Sufi mazars in large numbers. So whoever is seen as some kind of a challenge has been attacked or silenced by mob. So if Sheikh Hasina has been accused of using the state apparatus for silencing her opponent, Yunus sir, hey, Nobel laureate as he is should be
Yes.
getting a fresh Nobel Prize for using mobocracy to achieve political objectives, where political objectives like resignation of senior justices to
Yes.
principals of institutions have been forced by organized mobs going and attacking. BNP obviously wants early election, but BNP also does not want that this kind of Awami League resurgence, because
Right.
they want quick election, but without the giving Awami League any time to regroup, reform, because
Yes.
most of their leaders are away from the country, the senior leaders at least. The
Yes.
fighting types are still behind. So what this dispensation wants to do, Yunus has long planned a king's party. He tried it during 111, between 2006 and 8, with the help of the biggest superpower. So I share Ambassador Das's, sort of, reluctance to accept that, Trump will do something great for Bangladesh. I didn't really expect the Americans, because the American deep state has been complicit in
Right.
this regime change. We know it. I can give you enormous amount of details how training has been conducted. And these are not students. These are Hizb ut-Tahrir cadres. They are not
Yes.
independent students or something. Hizb ut-Tahrir cadres, they are from Islamic Chhatra Shibir, which is the student wing of Jamaat Islami.
Yes.
Be it in Bangladesh, be it in West Bengal, there is no autonomous student movement. Let's get this right. People are attached, deeply attached to political formations.
Yes.
So if there is SFI or Trinamool Chhatra Parishad here, there is Chhatra League, Chhatra Dal, and of course, the Hizb ut-Tahrir and Islamic Chhatra Shibir, don't forget, very important.
Yes.
They're small, but they can be dangerous. They can do things like they did yesterday. So obviously, BNP is unhappy, but BNP is
Yes.
as yet not willing to take on the Jamaat, which is backing Professor Yunus in his plans to, delay the elections as long as possible. Because if there are free and fair elections today, I can put my head and bet Jamaat will not get more than 10 or 15 seats. It has never got more than
Yes.
17
It's always
seats.
been on the
And that's
political.
doing a-
It's always been on the political fringe. But
it's a political fringe.
Ambassador Das.
Because of its fighting with Pakistan in 71,
Yes.
going against the nationalist trend.
Yes.
So it's either BNP or Jamaat Islami. Now the problem for BNP, Sandeep, let me point out, is they call themselves Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Their founder was a freedom fighter, Major Zia, later General Zia.
Yes.
So what is BNP without Zia, and what is Zia without 71?
Yes.
So how can BNP be complicit with Jamaat? Jamaat may have a vested interest in erasing 71 because
Yes.
it sided with Pakistan. Their people have been hanged for crimes during 71. How can BNP position itself as a political party in Bangladesh by denying Zia? They can't. Zia founded the party, and
Yes.
Zia without 71 is nothing. In fact,
Absolutely.
in Bangladesh, the BNP claims that Zia is the person who declared the independence of Bangladesh from Radio Chittagong, or Radio Pakistan at that time. in
It's a
Chittagong.
very interesting story of the birth of the nation, Subir, that you have two leaders, two very tall leaders, one political and the other military, and both have their own political parties and their families and very different versions of history and how Bangladesh came up. But that's, Bangladesh for you. A very troubled history, a very recent history, a young state. But Ambassador Das, I have to ask you this. Is there evidence to suggest that the previous Joe Biden administration had something to do with the regime change in Bangladesh? There are several of these allegations that have come to the fore now of the US engineering regime change across the world using various organizations, instigating protests, student protests and the like. Do you believe that there was a concerted attempt on the part of the previous Biden administration to unseat Sheikh Hasina's government in Dhaka?
Some sort of reports are available, and there is this definitely there is this contention that the US embassy in Dhaka was guiding the whole process and was very much behind it. I personally feel that even if the US embassy did play an important role,
Right.
you can't deny the fact that there was a lot of discontent in Bangladesh about the way in which the last three elections were conducted.
Yes.
And the corruption which was rampant in the government. everybody talked about corruption. Everybody
Yes.
knew who were the uh, bad eggs in the system. And from every institution in the country was, in a sense, compromised. Uh, so, that discontent was very much there, and you cannot deny that. You cannot deny the fact that, leading up to 5th August, there was a lot of spontaneity in the movement. Uh, if you even go back and see the visuals of the
Yes.
amount of people who poured into the streets from even in provincial towns and on 4th August, it's you have to give it to them, the citizens of that country, that they protested against Sheikh Hasina's rule. And mainly the discontent was, of course, price rise following
Yes.
the Russia-Ukraine war. There was fuel crisis, very high inflation,
Of course.
unemployment, and a sense that the wealth which the country was generating was not being fairly distributed.
Right.
So that there was a lot of discontent with
There
the
was a
system.
lot of discontent, Ambassador Das, but that discontent seems to have been hijacked by a lot of forces that are inimical to the very existence of Bangladesh itself, as we've just seen a few hours ago, where there's this concerted attempt to erase Bangladesh's history, the story of its creation itself, and possibly foster closer ties with Pakistan of the kind that we've not seen in the last couple of years.
And this
it's-
is not a thing. This has happened in the past also.
Yes.
No, not as viciously as it is happening in
Absolutely.
front of us right now. Bangladesh goes through, these cycles of
periodic
retributive
cycles of violence and counter-violence. But Ambassador Das, I'm afraid we're
revenge.
completely out of time. This is a story that we will continue tracking as we have over the last 6 months. This very, very sad, those visuals that are coming out of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's house in Bangladesh raise, and a very concerted attempt to erase Bangladesh's history, its story of its creation itself. Thank you very much, Ambassador Das and Subir Bhaumik, for joining us this evening. Some years back, I had an exclusive tour of 32 Dhanmandi, the iconic residence of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the house that no longer exists. Let's watch.
This day is very important. Come here. If some people ask him what was the protection, there is no protection. This wall has been raised now. It was half the size anybody could cross over. There is no guard regiment, no SSR, no. This place is all very humble, all green patch, nothing. Bank of this big lake, and no guard group, nothing was there.
So on March 23rd, when the flag was raised for the first time,
Wait, very important. Bangladesh flag was first raised from here
yeah,
on 23rd March.
he was standing right here,
He stood there, and the student leaders all wanted to raise the flag from there.
and this is
And
a public road,
And he used to see, he couldn't always go for the public meeting.
right?
And he used to come here or get down from here and address all people here.
So it was like a stage,
It's a public
like
road. It's
a
like a stage.
yeah.
But then anybody could come in also. But then they used to gather around there, sit in the grasses there, under the trees there, and then they used to listen to him and they used to listen. This is the dining table of the President of Bangladesh. These are the crockeries he had. This is the room of tragedy. Here most of the family members were killed. You can see firing of bullets everywhere. Here. And inside that square you see all the blood was spilled over there. Even firing took place on the roof also. The family members, most of them were shot here.
Were they all in here?
Yeah, they bungled together.
Okay.
But Bangabandhu came out.
Right.
He is not yet there to hide. So
Right.
he came out, walked this way. One thing more. Only one black and white TV. That's it. No color TV. And this was his sitting room. And you can see him taking his pipe. That's the only luxury in his life he had. The Chinese senior minister told me that she was large in size. I told him not only he stood here and he asked them, "What do you want?" And he did not surrender, did not put his hands up, just stopped them and said, "What do you want?" They shot him and he fell down. You can come in front. Here was all a pool of blood. So this place we kept it covered by the marks are almost gone. National standard is here. This is how he fell, and this is how he fell on the right. This is the only photograph we have of that time.
This is the definition. It was not
No. Every morning they would check the flag and also maybe that it was taken for training, I don't know. So this is a photograph he had, and he lies over here. And you can see the bullet marks. Come. All the red marks over there, they're all bullet marks, okay? You cannot step inside without stepping. Okay, all bullet marks are there. And the bullet marks are inside this. Bullets. They came firing games. Bullets everywhere. You can see all bullet marks. Hundreds of rounds were fired. So many people. And then they entered, through this one group entered, massacred the families, and come to me. This is the room of Sheikh Rehana, who is the younger sister of the Prime Minister. And these are some of the belongings of the family. I haven't seen such a middle class living for anybody. Everything is here. His shirt, his chadar, simple, very simple man. You can see some of the blood stain clothing that could be recovered. You can see the mark. These were the wedding saris. Wedding saris. This is Bangabandhu's evening gown that he used to wear. His family's different thing, and the very famous pipe he used to play all the time. And this is the Holy Quran he used to recite from. So,
interesting, his pipes.
Yeah.
Pipes.
It's the only luxury that he had.